Stephen is clearly one of the big experts in terms of the next topic of conversation, which would be, you know, medications indicated for diabetes have changed over the years, but the requirement in getting to cardiovascular outcomes has been a big push. And obviously that's changed a lot over the last a decade. What have we learned? Why did this happen, and what have we learned from it?
So let me just say that this has been obviously a really huge change. Going back more than a decade ago, it seems like yesterday, you know, we had concerns. I certainly had great concerns that the primary thing we were doing to approve diabetes drugs was to find out that they lowered blood sugar. And I made the point, you know, over several years that lowering blood sugar was probably an inadequate standard, that it has a relationship to microvascular disease, no question about it. But how you lower blood sugar was probably as important as how much. And three shocks to the system led to the changes. One of them, two of them we were involved with. One was rosiglitazone, a drug that was the #1 selling diabetes drug that, you know, still being debated to this day. But I think that particularly the recent paper out of your group at Yale, Nihar, shows that without question, this drug increased cardiovascular events, particularly heart failure. And then a drug called miraglitazar that almost came to market, but we, you know, found the same thing. And then the ACCORD trial, which showed that more intensive glucose lowering led to worse outcomes. And so I presented to the FDA a proposal that they should do outcome trials, that we should not approve diabetes drugs simply on the basis of their blood sugar lowering effects. And to my surprise, I was able to convince a panel of diabetologists that maybe we were right and that we needed outcome trials. It was a big battle. A lot of people in industry said that we would never have any more diabetes drugs, that all innovation would stop if we required outcome trials as part of the approval process. But we went forward with I'm not going to get into the two-stage approach that we proposed, but one of the things that we discussed at that 2008 FDA advisory panel was that if we did large cardiovascular outcome trials with diabetes drugs, we might just find drugs that actually lowered morbidity and mortality, that there would be the potential to uncover benefits that we would not otherwise discover. And for me, the pivotal moment came in 2015. Took a long time. Takes a long time to do outcome trials, but the EMPA-REG trial, when I was, you know, unblinded to it, I was not a participant, but I did learn of the results fairly early on. And the EMPA-REG study that Bernie Zinman did showed that there was a reduction in mortality with empagliflozin. And if you look at the trial carefully, and even though it wasn't the primary intent, the most striking benefit of empagliflozin was reduction in heart failure. It was about a 35% reduction in heart failure hospitalization. And we didn't know if that was a one-off, but next thing we knew, similar results were seen in the CANVAS trial for canagliflozin and in the DECLARE trial for dapagliflozin. And so in the diabetes population, we initially learned that the SGLT2 inhibitors reduced mortality, other cardiovascular events, and very strikingly reduced heart failure in diabetes patients. I can tell you, for me, it was the reward for all of the hard work and frankly, a little bit of abuse that I took from people who said, why are you making us do these outcome trials? I got beat up by the diabetes community for many years over this. But I think in the end of the day, we learned some really important lessons, and that in fact, it was a very successful endeavor to require that we look at outcomes, not just at blood sugar lowering for diabetes drugs, And the home run here was the SGLT2 inhibitors and their ability to reduce hospitalization for heart failure.